think about the events of the past few years, the environments, so the places that people occupy, if we think about the processes that guide how people work, if we think about the technologies that people use to get work done, all of these things have been disrupted, right? But all of these things are so important to an optimal employee experience. So the focus and the importance that organizations are attaching to employee experience is really a way to kind of correct against all these things, right? And it's also ties into the challenges that organizations have had in not only attracting but also retaining talent. And as people have moved away from those centralized work locations, there's become a real need for organizations to not only better understand employee experience, so what it looks like, but also be able to positively impact it, right? And positively influence it. So we're seeing a lot of tools come to market that are kind of helping organizations navigate and solve this employee experience puzzle. But I think one key lesson, one thing to remember there is that it's not just enough to have those insights. You can have the tools, you can have the practices in place that give you great visibility, great awareness of what the employee experience looks like. What are you going to do with that insight? That's the important thing to consider. So how we can orchestrate new employee experiences, how we can think about how the employee journey could be mapped and how employee experiences could be improved is a vital consideration for organizations.
In the collaborative meeting space, we'll see many innovations that will help us drive productivity. Things like meeting notes and summaries, action items, and being able to search through meetings through voice commands are all going to help us stay much more productive and become much more productive. And the same goes for collaboration devices, personal collaboration devices as well as group collaboration devices that go in meeting rooms, right? These devices will be empowered by AI and will facilitate employees to become creative and productive, as well at the same time create those bonds that are difficult to form in virtual settings, as AI helps us to understand sentiments and emotions even when we are dispersed and collaborating through multiple devices and in being in multiple locations.
One of the biggest challenges that organizations face is the rapid rate of change in the products and solutions that they've purchased. With agile development environments, there are new features and new capabilities, it seems like coming out almost every week. And so I think one of the challenges that organizations are going to have, particularly with their communications and collaboration strategy and implementing that as part of their digital workplace, is how do you take advantage of all the tools and the technology and the capabilities that are in these wonderful and deluxe solutions that you've gone to the trouble of purchasing and deploying. So that would be my response, is technology, kind of riding the technology adoption curve.
Post-pandemic, I think enterprises are adopting different types of working in a hybrid way. Obviously there's the technology, so everything's moving to the cloud. The other area that people need to look at is the different sorts of work styles. So whether or not they're tethered to a desk or tethered to a home, or they're mobile, or they're frontline workers. That really makes the choice of device and the sort of solution that they adopt really important. And then the other area to really look at is culture. So there are some companies that are mandating a return to the office. There are some that are closing down offices and going for more of a remote model. And then there's the in-between, where most users are deciding where their best place to work is and how they work.
I was at the Cisco keynote this morning, and the kind of the cinematic meeting rooms and meeting experiences with the multiple cameras, etc. It's interesting how those kind of physical spaces are evolving to, as per your point, kind of deliver those more equitable meeting experiences. Are we kind of far off from mass adoption of these type of capabilities, do you think? I mean, what's the dynamics at play within an organization to adopting those type of capabilities?
I think enterprises want to adopt it. It's just that they are pushing it further, simply because they want to understand what is the best technology that will work in, regardless of
Right.
the different types of meeting spaces that they have, right? And this is an evolving technology. If you commit to something, obviously, in 6 months down the line, you have much better solution. You cannot scrap
Yeah,
and
yeah.
move on to. So I think it's a wait and watch approach until this gets more established, right? And once it gets established, once we have a really well-defined and well-crafted product, it will see mass adoption.
There are a couple of things that I saw that I thought were pretty interesting. So Zoom made an announcement with its Zoom IQ to leverage AI and as well as or generative AI, and that's supposed to help with to facilitate things like communication, summaries, and et cetera.
Yep.
I think Ring Central came out with a Ring Sense for Sales, which is also leveraging generative AI to help salespeople write emails, right? So come up with a first draft of an email and enable them to edit it and send it out, help them with coaching. So these are interesting new developments. Curious to see them more one-on-one, to see if how that's working. Generative AI is getting a lot of attention at this show. So curious to see what's truly generative AI and what's they're calling generative AI. Some of it is rules-based AI, which I don't know that would necessarily be considered generative AI.
What are some of the dynamics at hand in the market then? Like what are the themes, the trends that are driving your research area and your interests there in particular?
Sure. Well, I would say the two overarching trends, and I'm seeing this here today, I would say the big one being ChatGPT. I mean,
Yeah, we were.
I didn't even. There's been several announcements here around ChatGPT, and I think it's safe to say it's this mega global trend. And even though it's early days, I think the value of it is though that it's getting everyone talking about AI and focused on AI, and it's getting people in the organizations who may not have even thought or discussed AI before, talking about, well, how can this help my organization, my team, my customers? And I think the initial use cases will be these siloed instances that may help solve or enable repetitive tasks, but I think we're going to quickly see companies suddenly look at it in terms of, well, how can this help transform my customer experience and streamline my customer journeys?
One of the things that we've noticed in the enterprises is that people are making fewer calls to the PSTN. They're meeting a lot more using these tools, Teams and Zoom and WebEx and Ring Central and all these others, okay? And so the actual amount of calling to the PSTN on an individual basis is going down, all right? However, everybody still has some kind of a phone line or a mobile phone. And so one of the awesome things, and I know that you're involved with this as well, would be things like Microsoft Teams Mobile, where instead of having to have basically a landline or an IP line effectively through with a separate phone number, you're going to be able to get that a single phone number that works on your mobile device, plus it'll work on, if you happen to have a phone on your desk that, say, is a Teams phone or your Teams client, it will work across there, but you have one number. And I think that's fantastic and awesome. And Cisco has a play like that too, WebEx Go, and there's some things in the works with Cisco as well. Ring Central has this. We really call it AT&T Office at Hand, I think, which is a similar thing where you can have a single number. So what that does is that's shifting at least this voice portion over to the mobile device.
Right.
So I think there's some real legs in that market. So I mentioned this TAM, 447 million. Well, probably a fair amount of that, once these voice on the mobile devices get going and where these are integrated in, probably a significant portion of that is going to go to these mobile plans and mobile operators. So that's a real big opportunity if the mobile operators can get behind it and get this implemented along with those vendors.